Film fans of YouTube, hello and welcome back to the channel. I am Josh, your Movie Apprentice, and today I am looking at Fly Me to the Moon, directed by Berlanti, that comes out this Friday, starring the talents of Scarlett Johansson, Channing Tatum, Jim Rash, Woody Harrelson. This is a fictionalized take on the space race, where the man in charge of getting the men to the moon becomes infatuated by an expert marketing genius who is brought in by the FBI to improve public opinion of the space race as it has been going for quite some time. Now, before I get into my review, if you like what you're seeing on the channel, click that like button and subscribe for more video reviews that's coming all the time. Without further ado, let's jump right into this. So this is a romantic comedy. Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson have okay enough chemistry. I will say straight off the bat that this film isn't that strong when it comes to the romantic comedy elements of it. In fact, where the film shines strongest for me is when it actually tries to be a more serious and grounded movie. And sometimes the shift from the two tones can be very jarring and really pull you out of the movie. The film will literally go from a very serious, emotional scene to a load of slapstick the very next. And whilst there are films that have done that successfully in the past, Fly Me to the Moon unfortunately does not quite hit the mark for me. Scarlett Johansson, this woman gives her all no matter what film she is in. She is really good in this movie, as she always is. There's a something about the way she plays that character. She rides that line between being very free-spirited and a little bit funny and having a serious dark past with emotional undertones. She balances the two very well. Whilst Channing Tatum does a decent enough job in his role, he is very much outshone in this movie by Johansson. A big standout for me as well is Romano, who plays basically the co-pilot to Channing Tatum's character in this. He has some of the more exploratory moments of the movie where he has to divulge a bit of information to ScarJo's character in order to make her relate to Channing Tatum's character a little bit more. But he has these very nice, sweet moments and maximizes his screen time. There are elements of the film that just work really well. When it is trying to be a comedy, it isn't the strongest. When it comes to the serious moments, it does work very well. There is a great subplot where it deals with the pain and remorse and the grief that our lead is feeling over the deaths of the astronauts in Apollo 1. Now, I will say that this film says it's based on a true story, but the only true thing in the movie that it based itself on is the space race and the moon landing itself, and the idea that it might have been fake. It leans very heavily into that. Everything else, including the characters, is fictionalized. So it's kind of a gray area of whether using the deaths of those astronauts in Apollo 1 is tasteless or not. But I feel like that aspect of the movie worked really well, and Channing Tatum did a great performance in portraying that remorse and regret over the incident, and gives us one of Channing Tatum's strongest scenes we have seen from him in quite some time. But as I've stated previously, we follow this particular scene with a very over-the-top moment. If I had a nickel for every movie where a cat was stealing the show from the main actors on screen in just the last month in cinema, I would have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice, because there is a cat in this that has some of the more slapstick moments. Effectively, it is a black cat, and Channing Tatum's character believes in the black cat brings bad luck scenario, which is very bad when it comes to trying to get some men on the moon and home safely. Woody Harrelson plays our antagonistic force in this movie as an FBI agent who brings in Scarlett Johansson to build up knowledge and public opinion on the space race, and his character has some really good sequences with her. Now, when we dive into the moon landing aspect of things, again, the build-up is really well done, and the actors that play Armstrong, Aldrin, and the third astronaut are good enough. They play a very small role. They are just there to basically show that they are there, and the way the film leans into the idea that the moon landing might have been fake, because that is the angle that the film's coming from, is playing into the idea that the moon landing was indeed fake, that apparently 1/10 of Americans believe. So seeing that conflict of the FBI agent wanting to save face of the Americans and the importance of showing they beat the Russians to the moon versus Channing Tatum's character's view of if it's going to be seen, let the world see it and let the world believe and dream. That is a nice third act conflict. And the way it's resolved is amusing, hilarious, probably one of the few times that I actually had a genuine laugh in this movie. But again, the way it tries to balance this slapstick comedy with just the emotional weight of what a moment it was when the men did land on the moon. It's something that the film does struggle with across the film's runtime. I'm not even talking much about the romance in this. The romance in this is okay. I will say that the romance is okay. The chemistry between Tatum and Johansson is all right, but I can't say I truly bought their romance. I bought their first meeting where Tatum is feeling too nervous to approach Johansson because it's the most beautiful woman he's seen in a very long time. But seeing them being opposing forces that are constantly coming at odds with each other in the early stage and migrating into the romantic interest and feelings, it feels very rushed and doesn't feel very natural for me. It feels like they go from enemies to acquaintances to lovers rather quickly, and that for me does not quite work. For me, Fly Me to the Moon is a movie that is stacked with a star-studded cast. I've not even mentioned yet that Jim Rash from Community is really good in this. He eats up every scene he is in. He's very eccentric. They even lean into the idea that did they get Kubrick to do the moon landing, and instead they got this director that's just really full of himself. It's an outright diva on set. Like everyone gives a solid performance and does something to stand out, but the course of the movie just feels like there was something missing. If they just strip out the seriousness a little bit more, fully committed to the slapstick and absurd commentary on this, like if you're gonna talk about the moon landing being fake, but then affirm that the fake landing might have happened but wasn't what was shown on TV, then commit to the absurdity of it. There's only one time where it does commit to it, and that is towards the end of the movie. Before I get into my grade, if you like seeing our channel, click the like button and subscribe for more video reviews that's coming all the time, as well as some video essays that will be coming over the next few weeks as well. But without further ado, let's grade this. Fly Me to the Moon is stacked with a good cast. The romance is passable, but the way it tries to balance the funny moments with the serious moments, it is very jarring and can take you out of the film quite a bit. The romantic element is fine, but I don't feel like I truly buy into these two characters catching feelings for each other. And when it comes to the resolution and the conflict of Project Artemis and the actual moon landing itself, how it tries to balance the idea of the big event it was and how emotional it was for the people involved versus this slapstick element, it just doesn't gel very well for me. I feel like Fly Me to the Moon had potential, but couldn't quite choose its lane on what angle to approach it on, and ends up trying both things and gives us a passable meal, but it doesn't quite hit the heights that it probably could have. I'm gonna have to say that for me, Fly Me to the Moon is a tea that needs more sugar. So Fly Me to the Moon, have you seen it? If you have, then let me you thought down in the comments below. Again, you like what you're seeing on the channel, click the like button and subscribe for more video reviews that's coming all the time, as well as some video essays. Again, the love that I've seen for that in the Mona video essay has honestly blown me away. It's easily my most viewed video on the channel now, which means I'm probably going to start really thinking about how I go forward with the channel. The reviews will never stop, because that's why a good few of you are subscribed already. However, I do have ideas for video essays, and maybe now is the time to really dive into those. So stay tuned for those. And until next time, everybody, my name is Josh. I have been your Movie Apprentice, and I'll see you all in the next video.